Tuesday. It is the Tuesday, the 241st day of the year. There are only 124 days left in 2023, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tom on August the 29th. Today's show marks the end of our third season. I mean, they've gone by really fast. We've been very fortunate. We've reached people all over the globe, across the United States, across Canada, the African continent, Pakistan, and then we got some Far East spam that none of us could read. We just assumed that they meant well and wished us well. We've interviewed authors, physicians, coaches, attorneys, former teammates, nonprofits, ministers, college and university administrators, entertainers, actors, filmmakers, politicians, chefs, and all with the intention to share and explore information that hopefully is helpful to all of us in our daily lives, whether it be political, medical, economical, funny, or interesting, or just some good old, I didn't know that type of information. Our crew has been the same since we started. Michael and Barbara is our roundtable guest. Barbara keeps us up on the social happenings. Michael gets us into the substance of the issues. They keep us on our toes. Emily puts the word out on who our guests are, their bios, and she and Sean coordinate the guests. And Sean got a minute in the last year, and it's been a smash. Joyce is behind the scenes, coordinating and coaching. It's a good team. So thanks to all for 3 wonderful years. Next week, we start our 4th season. It hopes to be a good one. Between now and the end of the year, we hope to explore bullying prevention, breast cancer awareness, Indigenous Peoples Day, the Forgotten Ones, college athletics, NIL, 9/11 memories, and much more. 4 could be a charm, and we want to thank you for being with us these 3 years. We appreciate you, and we look forward to another maybe 4 years. Our G-List guest today is all of us. Those of us in the chat, if you got something to say, today is your day to say it. So our show today, of course, is sponsored by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. We want to thank Best Girl for its sponsorship. So let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gossom, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl customizes the solution that fit your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars, Barbara Wallace Evans and Michael Walker. But before we do, I want to go back. To our very first show. On September 1st, 2020. It started off with good day and welcome to our first episode of TWT, Tuesdays with Tom. I'm Tom, of course, and I want to thank you all for joining us. What's TWT about? We want it to be an hour-long show of entertainment, news, sports, and definitely some opinion. Some of that opinion may be yours. I've been involved in television and media, social media, most of my adult life, but what I'd like to bring to you with TWT is some intelligent, fact-based positives about issues facing us today. So let me put this out there from the beginning. Now, this is September 1, 2020, okay? You can send us messages through our Facebook page. What we do on Tuesdays with Tom is we have fun. What we won't do on Tuesdays with Tom is be demeaning, spew hate, and call names. Mrs. Jackson, my 2nd grade teacher at Our Lady of Fatima Elementary School when it was on 6th Avenue South and 14th Street in Birmingham, always reinforced that, quote, empty barrels make the most noise, unquote. I've never forgotten that. So if your barrel is empty, keep it to yourself. Our goal on Tuesdays with Tom is to bring you thought-provoking information. So And do that, let's go to our roundtable regulars. Let's get Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker on here. Good morning, Barbara Wallace Edwards. How are you?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well, thank you. And how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, what's going on in your world?
Well, first time I want to start off with a good note. I want to say happy birthday to my sister in love, Rosalind, um, who lives in Mobile. Rosalind was the wife of my oldest brother, Jerry, who passed away years ago. But Rosalind and I she's a sister to me. So we don't say sister in law, she's sister in love. So happy birthday, Roz.
Good.
And next, I want
Happy
to
birthday, Roz.
thank you, Tom. Thank you. I want to offer condolences to the family and the friends and fans of entertainment icon Bob Barker, who hosted Price is Right for 35 years. He died on last week at the age of 99. So,
Wow.
um, huge loss. Of course, he retired, and but I'm sure he's been missed by many of his fans. I never really watched the show a lot, but there are tons of people who did. So that was all over social media this past week.
Yeah, I saw that. Well,
Yes,
hopefully, all his relatives are okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
99 years old. That's a,
He lived a long and fruitful life. That's
yeah.
for sure. Yes, yes.
Okay. Uh, Go ahead.
I was going to say another thing I was going to talk about, Tom, is that for the first time in NFL history, an NFL team, the Baltimore Ravens, has an entirely black quarterback group. Josh Johnson, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Brown, Tyler Huntley. And they also have black quarterback coaches, T. Martin and Kerry Dixon. That's a first, I think, ever. So that's something huge that I think needs to be recognized.
T. Martin played at Tennessee.
He did.
I didn't know what had happened to him, so he's with the Ravens, huh?
He's with the Ravens coaching
Uh,
now.
yeah, I want to let's get Michael on here. We're going to talk
Okay.
a little bit about this quarterback room. Michael, how are you, man?
I'm well, TG. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. What do you think about this four black quarterbacks in the quarterback room at the Ravens?
Oh, that's interesting. Good morning, Barbara. Thanks for bringing that
Morning.
up. Yes. Well, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it. I think it's a great opportunity for them. But as they always say, the proof will be in the pudding. And what I mean by that, will they be successful? Because that's going to be the main key ingredient to this is the fact that they are successful. So I wish Lamar Jackson and that entire group well. As a matter of fact, Barbara mentioned it that there were two African American coordinators, I think, also on that
Yes.
team.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, one's a defensive coordinator, one's an offensive coordinator. So um, it is good to see that people of color are getting these opportunities in the NFL. In particular, when you look at the demographics of the NFL and how it's made up. So I'm really happy for them to get the opportunity, but I'd be more happy for them to be very successful.
We're
And
praying.
who are the quarterbacks again?
The
Lamar.
quarterbacks are Josh Johnson, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Brown, and Tyler Huntley.
I hadn't heard of the two in the middle. I don't know where they
I'm not sure
play.
where they played college ball either, but I
Is
know.
um is Ozzie Newsome still with the Ravens? Is he still the general
No,
manager?
no,
Okay.
he retired. He stepped aside, but he was actually the architect of the Browns and the Ravens, and for so long he was the person that was behind the scenes pulling all the levers and everything. But the last I heard, he had stepped aside. He had some health issues, if I recall correctly.
If I'm not mistaken, he's in Tuscaloosa now. I'll have to look that up and see, but I think he's doing something at University of Alabama now. But
Is he?
I
I
think I
didn't know.
recall something about that. I actually was at a game in Tuscaloosa. He was there, and I think someone mentioned that he was actually on staff at the University of Alabama now. But that was several years ago. I have to look and see what he's doing now.
Hmm. Okay, that's new one on me. So, well, good. We wish these guys well, and I guess they held out for the longest with Lamar to get him the money, and so
Right.
I guess they're paying all of them. So,
Lamar represented himself in his negotiations, and he ended up doing pretty well for himself. He saved himself a lot of money. There were a lot of people that were against him doing so. We had a guest on the show that had been training him, and we talked about that. It was Lamar and his mom that were doing their negotiations and stuff. That kind of goes against the grain because that took some other people out of the equation of making money. But I think I saw a graphic where he's top 4, top 5 in salary.
Right.
Lamar? Is that Lamar you talking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's done well.
Well, he deserves it.
He does.
And Dixon's on here with us this morning. He's a big Ravens fan. I think we may go to a Ravens game this year. We may go see the Ravens play at Jacksonville. So I guess you're still working on that, right, buddy? Okay, let's see. Michael, what you got for us?
Well, there's a couple things I'd like to open up for discussion. The first thing is that all 19 people that were indicted in Fulton County, except for one, have been granted bail and have posted bond and are out of jail. One lone defendant is a guy by the name of Harrison Floyd. Harrison Floyd was the former director and leader of Black Voices for Trump. And he turned himself in, but he was not able to negotiate a bail prior to turning himself in. Harrison said he couldn't afford an attorney. He did not have the $40,000 to $100,000 that it would cost to pay an attorney in order to negotiate that for him and for him to be released. Because mostly everybody turned themselves in, went through the process. They were out within 20 minutes or so because it had already been negotiated. He went before the judge yesterday, Judge Richardson, and she denied a bond for him, saying that he was a potential flight risk. And she was concerned that he may go and commit more felonies and flee the jurisdiction.
Mm.
I find that kind of interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, I think he may be from Illinois or somewhere like that.
I think he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to say flee the jurisdiction, what is he supposed to do if he makes bail? Is he supposed to stay somewhere in Atlanta or Fulton County? I find that kind of odd to make that statement and to say that he would go and commit more felonies.
Because what's he accused of? He's accused of, he's not accused of anything violent, right?
No, he's not. But it's the RICO laws, the racketeering, solicitation and influencing and intimidating witnesses, all the stuff that Trump and everybody else was accused of. And the judge said, despite Floyd's claims of lack of funds to hire a defense lawyer, she indicated that he could either find a way to secure legal representation or represent himself, is what she said.
Wow.
That has created a backlash. Congressman Burgess Owens criticized the court move and highlighted the discrepancy in the treatment between the different cases. However, there has been some support that has emerged for Floyd, an online crowdfunding campaign that is sponsored by Dominion Law Center. And that's kind of interesting because, part of the complaints involved the Dominion voting.
Right. The Dominion group, I thought. That's strange.
And so now,
that's why I'm laughing.
In this latest update, it's the Dominion Law Center, which is running a crowdfunder. And as of Sunday morning, they had raised $219,823 for his defense, with 4,714 donors that are giving to help him out.
This Dominion Law Group is affiliated with the Dominion Group that owns the voting machines?
I doubt that.
Okay.
I don't know, because they say politics makes strange bedfellows,
right.
But I don't know.
I thought that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be odd if that's the case.
Right.
But Michael, I understand that the hearing that was held on yesterday with Judge Richardson wasn't a bond hearing. It was to just go over to just tell him what his rights were, is what she was
Yes.
saying. So she
Yes.
said that wasn't a bond hearing at all. So she didn't have the authority to grant him release.
Right. They're saying that his bond can be fully considered when Judge Scott McAfee is assigned to his case and takes it
Right.
up, which
Now,
means he
go
will
ahead.
sit, which means he's going to sit some more.
Right.
We talked about this area. And what was his position on the campaign?
He was director of Black Voices for Trump.
Oh Lord, that sunk him right there.
Yeah. Was that is that a paid position or does volunteer position? Michael, do you know?
I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, I would say it was probably a volunteered position. It's one of those positions there. He was doing this and carrying the water, and if they were successful, he'd be rewarded. In other words,
Wow.
you know.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little background, Floyd is a former Marine. He was also accused of assaulting an FBI officer who was working on the Bureau's parallel investigation into whether crimes were committed by Trump's team when they attempted to block Biden's 2020 election. The agents reported to have gone to Floyd's Maryland February 23 to issue grand jury subpoenas where he allegedly slammed one of them. So there's been a lot of different things. He said he did not know that they were FBI or with the law enforcement. Floyd also has an MMA background, whatever. So obviously he knows how to defend himself, but there is some concern of him being in the Fulton County jail because this is the jail that is rapidly deteriorating. It's the jail where one inmate died from being bitten and eaten alive by bed bugs. And it's a real horrible situation. People go in there and a lot of times they don't come out. So I just find it somewhat ironic that he was in this position as leader of Black Voices for Trump. He's the only one that's still in jail. And people have come to his aid and raised $219,000. The target was $200,000. So the Trump supporters are trying to help him out, but they wouldn't allow him to bond out yesterday, even though he had raised the money through online measures. So he's got to wait until Scott McAfee get assigned the case, and who knows how long that could take.
Wow.
Well, maybe they're trying to wait for him to get an attorney too. I mean, if he secures an attorney, I don't know, but surely if he secures an attorney who maybe go to the judge on his behalf, and who knows what's happening.
Probably do better than he would.
Yeah.
That's what Dominion Law Center said, that they had plans to go before the judge on Monday to bid to secure his bail. So she obviously denied it. And
well,
it's
like I said,
wait.
the hearing on Monday, as I understand it, was not a bond hearing.
Yeah,
so she
I
didn't
understand.
have. She said she didn't have the authority to set bail or anything. So yeah, it's interesting.
You're talking about regret. I wonder if he regrets that he was the head of the Black folks for Trump.
Yeah, I wonder as well.
That's a job I don't think I would have taken.
Well, hey Tom, Aunt Lee, Lamont Staten said Ted Marcus should go and represent him.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Aunt Lee, how you doing this morning? Hope you're well. Let's see. Pat Eddington, hope you're doing well. Anthony Tedeschi, I saw where you guys took in some new members in your Heat of the Night group, about 12. That's great, man. And I think you guys are going to Covington in October. So maybe
Joyce asked the question, with whom did the others negotiate their bail, the other defendants? And they negotiated with the courts prior to coming, but they had hired attorneys beforehand. So they were able to call down and negotiate that. So because he didn't have an attorney, wasn't able to do that up front, that kind of put him in this quagmire. And it's just an unfortunate thing, because you never know. A lot of times when you get into a situation like that, especially a high profile situation, lawyers just charge whatever they want, so you don't know, maybe he tried to get a lawyer and the price was just too high,
Right.
and nobody, and again, he said he wasn't appointed a public defender. Nobody would take it to help him out. He had to put the money up front. So, he was just kind of caught in the situation.
Looks like one of those lawyers that are representing one of the other ones would
step in, you would think.
Yeah, but maybe this is a big payday for them, and he ain't got any money, so
Right.
That's tough. Well,
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work out for him. That was a sinking ship from the very start. And so we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny. Antley said to me I should let him stay with me. Antley, I was not a part of Black Voices for Trump or anything of that nature. And I'll just say that in my relationship with the Republican Party, I've personally always steered clear of any position that was designated for an African American or a Black person. I always went for the mainstream positions. My idea was, they never say somebody's a white Republican. They're always a Black Republican. If I'm a Republican, I'm a Republican. Why do I have to be a Black Republican? And therefore, if I am going to be a Republican, why do I need to have a position of leadership that's been pigeonholed for a Black person? No, I'm a Republican. I'll get one of the other leadership positions, and I'll do it better than the person that came before me. That's been my motto. So I've always stayed clear of that, putting myself in that type of situation.
Well, obviously he didn't. So
Right.
we'll move on, unfortunately, for him.
Right.
So let's see. Antley said, what else did Antley have to say? I think he wants Ted Marcus to represent him. That ain't going to happen. Ted's retired. I retired Ted a while back. Anyway, so this weekend, I didn't realize it till this morning, the football season starts this weekend, huh?
It started last weekend, Tom.
Started last weekend, actually.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they have so many chump games up front. I don't watch the chump games.
Well,
if
last
Auburn's
weekend
playing
was
UMass and Alabama's playing Parker or Ullman High School or somebody, I ain't gonna watch that. I'm sorry. You already know what fun is to watch something and you already know who's gonna win. And you already know it's gonna be a blowout.
Yeah. Well, last weekend, what they call weekend zero. It was week zero in the college football.
Who played? I don't even know who played.
Notre Dame played, right?
Notre Dame played Navy over in Ireland and won 42-3.
Okay.
Okay. They didn't have to go way over there to do that. Navy could have stayed at home.
Right. Hopefully they got paid really well to go over there to get beat that bad.
Yeah, I guess you have to wait till about the third or fourth game of the year before you get somebody who's of equal
I took
talent.
a little time to watch the UMass New Mexico State game just to see what they were doing. And one of the reasons is because both of them are on Auburn's schedule.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, and UMass beat New Mexico State, I think 41-30 or somewhere like that.
Oh, is that close?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's who Auburn opens up with this weekend is UMass coming to town. So it'll be interesting just to see how Auburn does with them. I mean, Auburn's favored, I think, by 37 points.
Auburn's playing at home.
See how they do?
Auburn's playing at home, but Michael, doesn't UMass have like a quarterback that played in Division I or something? And
Yes, they do.
did
Yes.
he? And I didn't watch the game, but did he do? It sounds like he did well with that
He
score.
played pretty well. He's a dual threat.
Okay.
He can throw it. He threw it very well, and he can run the ball. So that's why I say it'll be interesting to see how Auburn matches up with them. You know, Hugh Freeze is interesting. He came out yesterday and said, we have our hands full this week with UMass coming up. They have a dynamic offense. They went from a disastrous season to a blowout win, and we have to see how we can do. And he said, I don't know if our team is a good run defense team or we just have good running backs. So he's coming from the school of Paul Bear Bryant and Vince Dooley, where he's going to pour mouth his team and talk up the other team.
That's what the great coaches do.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So in other words, they got a chance they're gonna lose, right?
Yeah.
So if they lose the game, y'all will be okay because
No,
he's doing coach speak. Everybody will be fine.
Look at what he says. No, I will not be okay.
Ain't nobody gonna be okay. He won't be okay.
No, he won't.
Oh man. So anyway, I'm glad it started. So hopefully it'll be the guys will do well.
Well, how did there's a lot of new college football rules that were started this year as well. Michael, did you watch some games? Did it impact the game in any way?
I didn't really pay that much attention to it, really. I only kind of heard about it briefly, some minor rules and everything like that. I think the most glaring is that they will no longer stop the clock doing first downs. That's something they adopted, so that should speed up the play of the game.
Yeah.
So that's one that they're implementing, So they're kind of switching up. They're going to take some of the things from the pros and implement in college and some of the stuff in college and implement in the pros. Whereas I think it's if I'm not mistaken, it's either I think it's on a kickoff return or something. If the ball doesn't go in the end zone, you can kind of fair catch it and start at the 20 or 25 with the college, and they're going to put that in with the pros this year, from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. The other one about the clock will now continue to run after an offense gains a first down, except if it's in the second or the fourth quarter and less than 2 minutes remain. So that should have an impact on the length of the game.
Yeah.
And one of the other ones was the no consecutive timeouts. The rule prohibits a team from using consecutive timeouts, a move that's usually meant to ice the kicker. So they're taking that one out of college games.
So you get to ice him one time now.
One time. You can't do it multiple times.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where are we here? Barbara, you got something else for us?
Well, Tom, I've got several other things we can talk about. I don't know how many people like Subway, but I understand that Subway has been purchased. They actually went up for sale back in February, and there's been a lot of negotiations, but the company has finally been sold. So they're being now owned by the company that owns Sonic and Arby's and several other fast food places. So we'll see if anything changes as far as the service and the quality of food for Subway.
Mm. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Are they going to let Jared out of jail?
I don't think that's going to have an impact on Jared's jail term.
What happened to Jared? I didn't.
He was the guy that was in all the Subway commercials where he lost a bunch of weight from eating Subway sandwiches and stuff, and became their spokesperson. But he got caught with some child pornography, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
that's what it was.
Yeah, and he had to do a little time for that.
Should have done a lot of time.
I think he's doing a lot of time for that.
Yeah, he's been in there for a good while.
Yes.
That's not. That's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tom, talking about Florida, I know you guys are on hurricane watch, and your governor came off the campaign trail the last couple days to go and talk to the people in Jacksonville about the mass shooting from the 21-year-old that was an avowed racist, and he was booed for doing that. And he was saying that because of the hurricane, he is, going to stay in Florida. But one thing that's kind of hitting him and is going to continue to bother him is the fact that he fired Orlando-based state attorney Monique Worwell, and he fired her because of wokeness, so to speak, and was saying that she was part of wokeness and really wasn't doing her job and all of that. Well, she has come out and responded, and she said he may have been giving the local sheriff an assist by removing her from her post because she was looking into cover-up conspiracies.
I saw that.
Among law enforcers and faking documents and making all this disgusting and abusive behavior. And she said, for her to be attacked saying that she doesn't go after criminals, she said, I guess there's a difference between ordinary criminals and police that are criminals. So I think this is going to continue. And supposedly there was another attorney that he fired for the same reason. So they are all both saying they were about to crack a case on police corruption, and he removed him from office.
Well, I saw where he went to Jacksonville after the shooting, and the people booed him.
Yes.
The shooting where the white guy went and killed 3 black people.
Yes.
Purposely, and it was racially motivated. And DeSantis went over to speak about it, and the crowd booed him.
Yeah, I saw the news conference, and the local city council person had to actually get up and say, "Hey, this is nonpartisan. This is not party affiliated. We're here to talk about what happened in that situation and trying to get some help here." So she asked the crowd to kind of quiet down. But if she hadn't, I don't think he would have been able to speak because they were really going after him.
Well, he probably deserves it.
He did.
Well, I'd like to ask you guys a question here. Supposedly, this young man had a history of mental health issues.
I saw that.
And according to his father, he had some treatment and was supposed to be on his meds. Dad said he think he stopped taking his meds. Now, everybody talk about it's a right to have a gun and all of that stuff to defend yourself. And I get that. I understand that. I don't disagree with that. But a lot of these instances where we're having these mass shootings, it always goes back to mental health. So my question is, if we know of someone that has a history of mental health, should we allow them because they are no longer under doctor's care or no longer being treated because he quit taking his meds? If you have a documented history of mental health, should you be allowed to go legally purchase a gun?
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
My opinion, no. Right. I agree. And I saw that, and I wondered the same thing, okay. The guy has proven that he's whatever you want to call it, off his rocker, crazy, unstable, mental issues, whatever you want to call it. But whatever it is, he should not be walking around with a gun. And then he had what kind of gun? It was a
AR-15 and a handgun. He had 2 guns.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure some people get all upset and been out of shape, but I just don't think he should. He's got issues.
Definitely.
And when the man, I think the woman he killed was just sitting in her car.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you just go walk up and shoot somebody sitting in their car, you don't know them, you don't know anything about them, they never did anything to you, and then something's wrong.
Yeah,
Something's
absolutely.
wrong, you know.
And
And,
this guy, he I mean, this was all premeditated. His first stop was at a Family Dollar store, I think, and he went inside that store to actually make a
Yeah.
purchase and came back out, and I understand was getting ready to go to, shoot some people, and a security car pulled into the parking lot, and he left there. He then drove to Edward Waters College, which is an HBCU, and put on a tactical vest and a head mask or something.
Yeah.
A student saw him because he stood out to the student, saying he doesn't look like he belongs here. Flagged down a security uh, officer, and they questioned him. He wouldn't identify himself, so they followed him off the campus. But I mean, who knows what he would have done had that not happened? On those two locations, and then went to the Dollar General from there.
well, go
And you're
on.
right. I where I have a little bit of a disconnect there is if he had mental issues, and I don't deny that, he had enough sense to want to put on
Right.
That's what I was just thinking when you said that. It's
Yes.
like, okay,
He's
but
not
he's
that crazy.
he's armoring up,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
if somebody's off of their rocker, how do they think, well, I need to protect myself because I know I'm going to go shoot somebody, and there's probably somebody else that may have a gun that shoot at me, so I want to be protected. I mean, if you're mentally ill, you don't really think about that stuff, do you, or do you not? I don't know. I'm just
That's my point too, Michael. I think a lot of people use mental illness as an excuse a lot of times so that they can, I guess, make the person look better in their eyesight, but that's just hate. That's all it is hatred.
But I also think that when we have leaders, quote leaders, who spew hate,
right,
who criticize. We were in a meeting yesterday, and it was 6 of us in this meeting, Joyce and I and 4 other people. And it was a sales meeting. They were trying to sell us something. And one guy, an older guy, he said that he had, they were talking about COVID. And he said, well, I got my virus shot yesterday. And the other woman reacted, virus? You mean you got a shot? You didn't get a virus. So it was this issue because the man used the word virus because, that became an issue. And that became an issue from the leadership of the country. And so when the leaders tell you it's okay to do this, whether you're mentally ill or not, you think it's okay. You go and kill these people who are doing something to you, but they never did anything to you.
Never done anything to us, right?
But somebody said they were bad people. And that's why, I don't know. I think with DeSantis, I've had I don't care for what he does. And I'm not surprised that he got booed. When you're spewing what amounts to hate, and I don't even know what wokeness is. I've been waiting on somebody to tell me what wokeness is, but everybody's got a different definition of what it is. And the only somebody who seems to know what DeSantis means by it is DeSantis.
Right.
So I just think we could do better. We could certainly do better in our leadership. And Michael, you talked about Black Republicans and white Republicans and so on and so forth. And we don't, nobody wants to be a black Republican. They don't talk about black Republicans, white Republicans, but they can talk about crazy Republicans. And it's
Right.
and we got some bad leadership on all of them, but we really got some bad leadership now. And
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Well,
and it's the reason those 19 people are were indicted, you
Absolutely.
know, because they listened to bad leadership. Anyway,
yeah.
You're right,
go
Tom.
ahead.
I
Hey,
agree
hey,
with you
hey,
on that, Tom. I think that a lot of the racial motivated incidents have crept up because of the verbiage that's going back and forth between the two parties. And in
agree.
particular, one side talking about wokeness, quote unquote, or trying to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion by saying we don't need it. Now it's inclusive excellence. I think all of that is just really causing people that, in the first place, that are not mentally capable of deciphering and understanding that these are people that are just placating to their base to
Right,
get elected.
right,
They don't really mean that. Okay. But you have other people that take that and put it into action because they think it's okay, because this person that's held in high esteem and in leadership speak these types of words, and they look at it as code to go out and do these things. I mean, this guy is 21 years old. So, you know, where did he get the hatefulness towards black people? Because according to his manifesto, he hated all black people just because they
Yeah.
were born black.
Right.
Okay, so where did that come from? And if he's mentally ill, he's mentally ill against black people, in other words.
Right. Yeah. Just that group.
It's mental illness only goes in one direction.
Right. That's why I say I know there's many forms of mental illness, but I don't know of any that causes you just to hate black people. I
I
think
mean, if
there's
you're crazy, right? You
Right,
do crazy
exactly.
things,
right.
Mhm.
but you're going to target a group to be crazy with, in
Yeah.
And
other
you're
words.
absolutely right. And you're gonna go and put on all this armor.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully you don't get hurt.
Right.
Yes.
Right. He had a well thought out plan in his mind, how to go and target just black people, where to find the
Yeah.
black people. So
Okay.
Let's take a
he
little
thought,
break and bring Sean on to do Got a
okay.
Minute, and then we'll come back and finish this discussion. Sean, you out there with Got a Minute? No, I probably caught y'all.
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is Got a Minute. We're in the middle of hurricane season, and Hurricane Idalia is expected to make landfall in Florida as a Category 3. I hope everyone remains safe. As we pray for the safety for all that may be affected by the storm, I also want to dedicate today's segment as a remembrance for the victims of Hurricane Katrina. Despite being the only third most powerful storm of the 2005 hurricane season, Katrina was among the worst natural disasters in the history of the United States. In the wake of the storm, there were over 50 failures of the levees and flood walls around New Orleans and its suburbs. The levee and flood wall failures caused widespread flooding. After briefly coming ashore in southern Florida on August 25th as a Category 1 hurricane, Katrina gained strength before slamming into the Gulf Coast on August 29th. In addition to bringing devastation to the New Orleans area, the hurricane caused damage along the coasts of Mississippi and Alabama, as well as other parts of Louisiana. In all, it is believed that the hurricane caused more than 1,800 deaths and up to $150 billion in damages to both private property and public infrastructure. 1 million people were displaced by the disaster, a phenomenon unseen in the United States since the Great Depression. Stay safe out there, everyone. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is Got a Minute.
Thank you, Sean. I think Sean enjoys that Got a Minute thing.
I think so. We enjoy it as well. She does a good job.
Yeah, she does. Joyce says there are many degrees of mental illness that don't impact logic, thinking, and planning abilities. Okay. So he was just kind of crazy. Yeah, I think, and Anthony's right. We should remember Florida, and although I'm in Florida, we're on the other end, and Florida is much bigger than people realize, and so you can be in the middle where this thing is supposedly going to hit. You can be on the lower part of Florida where Sean lives and not get hit, or over in the corner, the coast where we are, hopefully, and not get hit. So we wish everybody well.
Yes.
As we ride this thing out. Were you saying something there? Go ahead.
I was going to ask a question because of what happened yesterday at the University of North Carolina, where the professor was shot in the classroom. It looked like it was a targeted situation. But my thought is, are we going to have to do universities like we're having to do high schools? Like in particular here in Atlanta, they're having metal detectors and all type of sensors that you have to go through in order to go into the school building. And you don't just, back in the old days when we were coming up, you could just walk into school, check your kid out and all that stuff. Those days are gone. Are you going to have to go to a situation where there is that type of enforcement around college campuses now, that you have somebody going in to kill professors? And I guess we're lucky that he wasn't targeting students. He had one target in mind, obviously, which was that professor. But just think, had he been going out there just to make a name for himself, been a mass shooting.
What's interesting, and you talk about schools, I remember, man, when you could walk in a church anytime and just go in, and if you wanted to go in and pray, church was always open.
Always,
you know, and I don't think that's the case anymore.
Right. And Michael, you bring up an interesting point, but it's not just college campuses, it's grocery stores. It's football games, high school football games now. Any number of places, elementary school,
movie theaters. See,
the
one that scares me is movie theater. I love to go to the movies.
Right.
And you go to the movies, and now there are only kids working in there. There aren't any adults around other than the patrons, and there are no guards around. There's nobody that could stop anybody from coming in there doing something crazy.
Right.
And so when I go to the movie theaters, I always try to sit where I can see everything. I not only can see the movie, I can see the doors,
the exits. I don't blame you, Tom. That's smart.
It's crazy, but that's the world we're in.
But you cannot put a metal detector at the entrance of everything. That's just not feasible.
That's true.
So the other thing you can do is try to make gun laws a little bit stronger, so that everyone can't purchase a gun.
Last year, Michael and I went to a football game at Auburn, and I hadn't been to one in a while. And but we had to go through the detectors, and we had to put all our stuff out and all that stuff, and let them go through it, and so on and so forth. And at one point, I'm thinking, do I really want to go in here? I can just go home and watch this on television, and feel safe, But that's the world we're in. I got a couple of other things I want to talk to. They had thousands of people gathered on the National Mall this past Saturday for the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington and Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech, which would have been very interesting and would have been something I would have liked to have been able to go to. Reminded me of there were 6 of us. We went to the Million Man March back when they had it, and it was very special. I still have a photo from that time, and I think we all who went, it touched us in a very, very special way. And so I think it would have been equally as interesting to go to the thing this past week. The strike is still going on in Hollywood, and most of the people I talk to feel like it'll go on a while longer. They're spanking us.
I was wondering how the negotiations are going, Tom. Are you hearing anything?
No, but no. Well, they did. I think they sent a proposal back, the producers, but it wasn't something that was interesting. This is something I guess I've been through 2 or 3 of them, but every time there's a new distribution system that comes out, and by distribution system I mean videotape,
Right.
then CDs, and then streaming. Every time there's a new distribution system, then the contract has to be renegotiated to include that system in how people are paid.
Okay.
And it always takes time. It always comes to either a strike or close to a strike to get people to move to a new distribution system.
Mm.
And I think that's what's happening on this one. And you remember we had Sturfon on. Sturfon said he thought it would go till the beginning of next year.
Yes.
I talked to a good friend of mine out there yesterday who said he thought it would continue on for at least the remainder of this year. So we hope not. I know people, need their money.
Yes.
And,
and we talked about it's not just affecting the people in the industry, the support, restaurants and Uber drivers and everyone are impacted by this. So yeah, I would hope that it's resolved soon.
Absolutely. And then one more thing. I think I mentioned this once before, but in my mailbox the other day, I got a pink sheet. And when you get a pink sheet, that's for foreign royalties. And so I just always think it's interesting to see. I'd like to see myself speaking Spanish, speaking French, or whatever. And then it's always interesting to just see in Germany, some of the shows that I've been in that ran with the Chamber, Chicago Hope, Fight Club, Last Castle, State of the Union. In Spain, Cold Case, Fight Club, Jeepers Creepers 2, Without a Trace, State of the Union. In Switzerland, the Chamber, CSI, ER, Fight Club, Last Castle, Without a Trace. So it's always interesting to me. It doesn't even, I don't even look most of the time for how much money it is. It's like, I just want to see where I was. And I want to see myself speaking French. So I told my wife we'll have to go over there one time and time it out so that we can watch in the heat of the night or whatever it is in Spanish. So
That would be neat.
I think we got a few more minutes. Michael, Barbara, you got something else?
Yeah, I have a couple things. On a lighter note, no pun intended, the city of St. Louis and their officials are considering allowing cannabis lounges in St. Louis, where you can go there and you can purchase, buy edibles, or cannabis in a roll joint or what have you, and feel free to sit there and enjoy in this lounge.
Mm.
So they are working through some of the clean air stuff, environmental things. A couple had already opened. The first one opened in 2019. And since that time, 2 or 3 has opened up. And it turns out that St. Louis has more lax regulations and allows the cannabis industry to take hold. And so the mayor is saying they're going to try and push this through, and hopefully they can attract visitors from other states to come. So they're looking at using it for the dollars, you know.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
whoever thought that there would be something called a cannabis lounge? You know, we're all used to maybe going to the bar to have your favorite libation,
Right.
adult libation. Well,
Right.
now, starting in St. Louis, Missouri, you can go to a cannabis bar and have your favorite. I wonder if they're going to have Acapulco Gold and Red Bud and all of that stuff there.
I'm laughing because it's funny, because I remember the story of the sheriff in Auburn. He would come around to the classrooms when it was time for him to get reelected, and he'd give speeches about marijuana and how dangerous it was, and how, and he came one time and he brought 2 joints rolled up, and he said, "I'm gonna pass these joints around. Y'all pass it. And if I don't get 2 joints back, I'm gonna strip search everybody in this classroom." He passed the 2 joints around, and 3 joints came back. That's how it used to be.
Wow. What a difference.
So let's do one more, and we'll close out. Michael Barber.
I want to say congratulations to Charity Lawson, the Bachelorette for 2023, who's an Auburn alum. She found her dream man. She's actually was engaged on the last show. So congratulations, Charity.
Okay, congratulations.
Okay. The one thing I wanted to talk about, this is on a health tip. There's a study going on about how individuals feel sex-specific symptoms before an impending cardiac arrest, the study finds. And what they have determined is that for women, the most prominent symptom of an impending sudden cardiac arrest was shortness of breath, whereas men experience chest pains. And they're saying if you pay attention to these symptoms 24 hours in advance, you can maybe protect yourself from an impending heart attack or death. And then there were smaller subgroups of both genders that experienced heart palpitations, seizure-like activity, and get this one, flu-like symptoms.
Yeah.
So they're continuing to study this, but this is what they are finding out, how your body warns yourself that there's danger of a cardiac arrest.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Well, we'll close it out. That was great. Thank you, guys. Closing commentary for today, or as I see it, comes from our show this past Valentine's Day. It's a quote from February 10th, 1964. And it says, after 12 days of debate and voting on 125 amendments, the United States House of Representatives passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 by a vote of 290 to 130. And it says, then we should always remember Black history is also United States history. And so that's how I see it on this August 29th in the year 2023. That's our show for today. We want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. We want to thank our G-list guest, who is all of us today. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl. Thanks again to the TWT team, Barbara, Sean, Emily, Michael, and Joyce. And that's it for this August the 29th. Remember, information is knowledge. A day without a smile is a day wasted. Smile, enjoy yourself, make every day count, stay safe. And Antley and Anthony and all of you, thank you, see you, and we'll see you next week. Stay safe, peace.